Without further ado, because I figured this first section may take us quite a while to get through, we have a lot to talk about in it. I figured we could introduce our first guest for Amazon IVS. That is Martin Hess, GM of Amazon IVS. Marty, what do you prefer? I want to say thank you for joining us, but tell everyone a little bit about what you do.
Thank you, Nick. Most people call me Marty.
Okay, awesome. So GM of Amazon IVS. Now that's a lot to unpack there, and there's a lot of work you've done to make this launch possible. But let's start as high level as possible. What is Amazon IVS?
IVS stands for Interactive Video System, and it's an end-to-end video system intended for live interactive experiences. So if you go to you're on Twitch right now. If you were a broadcaster, you would use OBS typically, but maybe something else. And when you start that broadcast, you hand it off to a video system. It goes across the network, it goes to servers, the servers do things to that video, and it gets it out to the rest of the world. You could build that with a lot of different pieces. You could build it from scratch and build each of those pieces yourself. But however you do it, it's a pile of work. It's years of work and a very large team. And what we've done is we've packaged all of that up, essentially the system that powers Twitch today, and turned it into an AWS service, and that's Amazon IVS. It's available today. It's pay as you go. It works as well as Twitch works. So if you like Twitch, if you're happy with Twitch, you will be happy with IVS.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, you mentioned a lot there, that it's a lot of work. And one thing that I really appreciate is not only is it a lot of work, even after all that work, there's no guarantee that the result is actually going to deliver the performance that you want.
Yes, absolutely. We got to be honest. The internet was not designed for live video. Live video is shoehorned onto something that it's not really intended to do. And it requires so much work to deal with all of the problems the real world throws at it. And so if you, as programmers, we all know that, we spend, more of our time dealing with the exceptional case than the happy case, the happy path. But with live video, it's almost all unhappy path. and to learn what all these unhappy paths are, it just takes years of experience. And so, this got started 11 years ago, and it's been year after year of more great people learning how to deal with all of these problems the internet throws at you. And so that's why today, if you go to Twitch, it's like works very reliably, and that's from years of experience.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say, and this is probably something that a lot of folks could use a little refresher on. When we talk about something being vended as a service, maybe we could provide a little context there. So many folks have probably heard of something called cloud computing. This is largely the move from having to manage your own physical data center and your own servers to having another vendor who can do that at scale with high performance like AWS to do that, so you can virtually vend yourself as you want, on demand, pay as you go, a lot of the concepts you just spoke to. Now, if I'm understanding this correctly, IVS, with being the technology that powers Twitch, is essentially the ability for developers to go and build their own platform that looks however they want it to be, to moderate however they want, but with the battle-hardened technology that you've developed at Twitch.
Battle-hardened video technology. Twitch has to deal with, just surprise things that happen. All of a sudden, you have a stream that started off with 10 people and now has 1 million plus people on it, and it happens in seconds. These are things that you don't get good at unless you have to actually fight these battles. And these are the kinds of things that we've built into the system and is available to everybody. And so you can build this for any use case that you see fit. The exciting thing for me is I'm a big fan of live interactive video. I believe in it. I came to Twitch 7 years ago because I had spent almost an entire year obsessing over watching Twitch. And I couldn't figure out why. It's like, what is so cool about a live interactive video experience? And I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew it was something that was innately human. Humans like to be in the presence of something happening right now. And they like to be able to affect that. They want to be part of that. And Twitch offered that, and it was like, okay, I have to join this. I want to be part of this. And so when I look at this, I think, wow, we now can enable people to build all sorts of other kinds of domains. So think of all the other places on the internet besides gaming where this would be great. And this is what we're hoping to spark, is just a revolution in new things that people would do with this.
Martin, I think you hit the nail on the head. There is something electric about that live human-to-human interaction. I remember the moment for me, I was watching a voice actor for a video game that I loved, and he had a Twitch stream going on with 50 viewers, and he was taking requests. You could post a quote and say this quote in the voice of this character. And I asked him to say something, and he did it. And I was like, wow, that's incredible, right? And I think that's one of the things that makes that live communication, especially on Twitch, really, really powerful. Is the fact that, and we have this going on right now. We have all these people in chat. You can ask questions, by the way. We're not trying to talk at you, right? This is itself a bona fide Twitch stream. We're live. So if you have any questions, we've got the experts on the stage here. Let us know what you want to know, and we'll ask them.
One of the things that has surprised me a lot when it comes to sort of this consumers of the Twitch platform, like people who stream, like the content creators, viewers, myself, Robert, Marty, you too, is the amount of the technical side of Twitch that people end up getting to know over the years, even without them being software developers themselves. Things like understanding the latency of when you as a streamer do something and when it shows up to your audience. Like, these are tangible experiences that we all deal with and we interact with, so we appreciate it even if we don't always understand how that sort of happens under the hood. But you said you joined 7 years back. For folks that have been following Twitch's story for a very long time, was it Twitch at that point? Was it still Justin TV? I don't quite remember when the transition happened.
I think it became Twitch, I believe, 9 years ago. Hopefully somebody more knowledgeable will join us and answer that question. I believe I started watching Twitch about a year into Twitch's existence, and then I watched Twitch for a solid year before I said, I have to be part of it. One of the things that we're particularly proud of about this system is how quickly you can integrate it into anything you already have today. We've had people tell us that they had live video up and working in their existing web app or mobile app in less than an hour. And that's just stunning. That is so fast. And that gives you a global reach. It gives you, a managed service. We're watching playback. We're making sure people can watch correctly. We're making sure we'll let you know if your broadcast has problems. We have the information. And we're paying attention. If there's some little problem somewhere on the internet, we're on top of it. We're dealing with it. If one method to get to your audience isn't working, we're on top of it. We're getting to your audience a different way. This is all transparent to you. All you have to do is write a little bit of code, and now you're live.
It's I can attest to that firsthand. The service is generally available now, which means that any folks can sign into their AWS account and start building with it. But I got a little bit of an exclusive sneak peek earlier on. There was an internal hackathon, essentially like a computer programming competition, marathon, what have you, to build cool demos on some of the earlier prototypes or closer to launch of interactive video service, and that I can definitely attest to that. The idea of this endpoint, this programming interface essentially that software developers are used to working with all the time. You can essentially create a stream. You can pass a call to it and get a stream endpoint back with stream keys, and create essentially the stream platform almost instantaneously, or the hardest infrastructure that IVS deals with. But I think I would be remiss if I didn't bring into the fold someone who is also very familiar with that hackathon, and largely a much broader story that I think we're alluding to here. I'm not going to spill the beans on who it is, but we're going to be right back in just a second, because I want to talk a little bit about the story of, even before IVS was maybe conceptualized, the broader partnership between Twitch and Amazon. So hang tight, everyone. We're going to be right back in just a second. All right, we're back. Same speed as an F1 pit stop. At least I hope it feels that way. We are joined, as a lot of folks can see because they see the overlay here, Emmett Shear, the CEO of Twitch. Emmett, I know you are a very busy person, but thank you for taking the time out to talk with us today and to talk with the community.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always exciting to get to chat with people who care about Twitch and want to build cool stuff.
Welcome to the show, Emmett.
Yeah, so we've been talking about IVS, and this is very exciting to us. Rob and I are software developers. We're geeking out over this, and the ideas are floating around with what can be built with this. But I think the story really starts a lot further upstream than the naming of IVS or even vending a service to other developers. This starts with the story of Twitch, and there's no one else that knows that better than you, right? I don't even know how far to go back, so I'm really going to kind of punt it to you. But when did even the ideas of Twitch joining Amazon, the idea of a service to vend Twitch's tech, where do we begin here?
We were talking about whether or not we wanted to sell the underlying video system as a service before the Amazon acquisition. Twitch was started in 2011. We launched the same day of E3 in 2011. And we really spent the first few years just trying to build stuff, just trying to get any traction at all, and growing the gaming service. But within a couple of years, it became clear we built something for our own use that was pretty cool. And after the Amazon acquisition, I became pretty confident at some point we'd want to turn it into an AWS service because I knew we'd built something really special. Something had taken us a lot of effort, and it was time to turn that over. Now, I didn't think it was going to happen actually this quickly. I was a little bit skeptical that we were going to be able to get it done and get it out there as fast as we did. But the team was really enthusiastic about it. I really thought they had something important, and I was very supportive of us giving it a shot. And we've really managed to run down all of the issues and get to the point where we can offer it to everyone. And I couldn't be more excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like such a big sort of like bifurcation, right? Like building of Twitch, there's so many challenges that come along with that on the building of a platform, engaging with your community. Marty was hinting before that there's just so many challenges and edge cases that come up with the tech side. Was there very much like a skunkworks project in the beginning to plan that potential, vending of a service? Like, was it something that lots of people at Twitch would have known about? Like, how did that evolution sort of happen?
In the beginning, it was very much just a small team of people with Marty trying to figure out what to do. But you might have noticed Amazon has Amazon Live. And the interest from the Amazon Live team was actually the very first moment where we were like, oh, we have a customer internally. Somebody wants this. And if we worked with them, maybe they could use it. And so actually, it really started out working with Amazon Live, which is doing live streaming around shopping and the Amazon experience, and realizing, oh, we've actually built something that other people really could use. It's made a big difference to them. And us having that validation gave us the confidence to keep investing, keep skunk working the project, I suppose, and build it out to the point where we were ready to make the big investment to actually turn it into a full AWS service.
Emmett, so you mentioned that this was an idea that had started even before the acquisition, and then later on you iterated with internal customers. Based on what we're seeing today in the general availability launch and the ideas you had, or that you and the team had way back when 9 years ago or 7 years ago when Martin joined, what are some of the major changes that have happened? Is what we're seeing today mostly the intact vision, or what are some of the paths that it's taken and some of the adjustments that you've had to make?
it's pretty much the vision we started with. I would say the biggest thing that we haven't done yet that I hope we get to doing eventually is really giving just even more flexibility around exactly what trade-offs you make for latency. We have a good deal of flexibility there. I think it's a really cool package. But I think we're going to see demand for people who want to be able to do really high quality transcodes or really low quality transcodes, and beyond what we've done. And we decided we'd start with the settings we started with, but I think we'll cover 90% of the use cases because we didn't know what the 10% would be, and exactly where we'd see what customers' needs were. And we decided it was better to get it out there, see how customers used it, and then iterate from there. But I think we're going to have a whole spectrum of options there over time that we haven't even invented yet.
Yeah, I want to go back to one of the instances you named before, which was after the Amazon acquisition and the use of Amazon Live or AWS Live. A lot of folks may have seen this, but they didn't know that's what it was called. So on Amazon.com, the retail platform, there are oftentimes live video broadcasts for certain products and services. It's almost like the online shopping channel, I guess you could say, where people broadcast stuff like that. And so when you said this was an internal customer, this was more than just MVPs or prototyping. This was the live service on Amazon.com was essentially the test bed for a lot of what became IVS or what IVS eventually became. It's really cool.
There's so much more we can do with Amazon Live too. I want to make it more like QVC, where we have the 24/7, the infomercial style. Hey, buy a 100-piece Tupperware set, and we'll throw in this, whatever, 100 more pieces.
That's right. Well, I really liked. I don't know if people here saw Twitch Sells Out. One of the events we ran around Prime Day one time was Twitch Sells Out, which was a Twitch style QVC, and it was really fun. I actually really enjoyed watching that programming, and I think a lot of other people did too. And I think we're still at the very beginning of what you can invent with live video. It's just been so hard. It's been so hard to build live video stuff that the next level of innovation on top of that hasn't happened as much because you just get stuck trying to get it to work at all. And I think IVS is going to unlock a bunch of new use cases. When we looked at where we think usage from live video is going to come from, obviously there's a lot of people doing live video already, and there's a lot of companies and startups that are building live video products, and we think they should be customers. But what I'm most excited about and what we thought is the really big potential for IVS is all the things that you couldn't build without having this work done already. And I'm most excited about that. I want to see what people can invent now that it's easy to wire up live video.
Absolutely. I love this comment in chat. AWS has a retail platform. Yes, Amazon is the AWS retail arm. So, it wouldn't be a Twitch show unless we toss some questions at you from chat. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Okay, so we have Gene, friend of the show. And if I understand correctly, Gene, you're still at Riot. So Gene does DevRel for Riot. Riot Games, of course, makers of League of Legends and many other awesome games now. At any given time, a significant percentage of Twitch traffic. And I think Gene and a couple of other folks in chat are wondering, what was the thinking behind the pricing structure for IVS? And one of the questions here is, why is the input pricing for standard costs 10 times basic streams? Emmett, can you talk about that?
So to understand that, we kind of have to understand the underlying computation that drives IVS. The really expensive part of taking a stream in is not the bandwidth to pull it in, but the transcoding. Doing high quality transcoding in real time takes a lot of compute. And we dedicate a huge amount of compute to making sure we get great quality transcodes when you send us a stream. But that just costs money. And so there's an intrinsic sort of price associated with doing a standard stream. Basic streams, skip that. You don't get the advantages of having multiple transcode qualities, which is really important for viewers who have lower quality connections, but you do save all the money. We wanted to make that trade-off available to all of the customers. But unfortunately, I think there will always be a cost to doing transcoding well, especially if you want to do it in real time for high quality video.
Yeah, I think we'll drill down on some of those the technical minutia when we bring Marty back on in a little bit. One thing to let everyone in the audience know, we're actually going to see a live demo with using IVS in action. So we tell you that it's easy to use, it's easy to get started, but you don't have to take my word for it. You'll hopefully be able to see that in action. We have another question. It's not necessarily IVS related, so but I'll ask it anyway. Zio Delta is wondering, is there any chance of an Alexa skill for Twitch, or like a first-party Alexa integration?
I think that's an interesting question. We've obviously thought about it. We think about how we work with the other groups at Amazon. We haven't yet seen the Alexa skill for Twitch that we've wanted to build and release yet, but it's something we continue to be excited about, and maybe at some point we wind up building an Alexa skill. I think there's a lot of people out there with Alexas, and a lot of those people are increasingly also Twitch customers. So maybe we find some overlap there.
Yeah, another thing I was interested in, it's not necessarily a question on chat here, but having played around with the IVS service myself, it's more than just the video. We were talking with Marty about this tangible nature of like being able to interact in real time, and like syncing that to video content can be really important, right? If you can pass the video along, but people still need to be able to perform all these extra operations, that can be tough. So when I think of things like Twitch, it's like, if an event happens in chat, I want to sync that up with something that happens on my stream. That's really cool. Do you think we can, or developers can expect to get more features along that lines of being able to see like quality of life features that maybe Twitch offers and that people like and may want on other platforms bundled into IVS at some point?
Yeah, our ambition is to continue to improve IVS every year, every month, every week. I think there's a trade-off as you're building something like IVS, trying to build out the entire complete set of features you'd love to have in theory versus getting something high quality and scalable into the customer's hands now. I think we did a good job picking a trade-off point for that. I think the product does a lot. And for many customers, it's going to be everything they need. But I also think there's a bunch of cool stuff you can do on Twitch. Clips comes to mind as a feature that IVS doesn't yet support, but we'd like for it to support. And over time, I think we'll be layering in more and more of those nice to haves, or sometimes must haves for certain use cases that's going to expand what you can use IVS for.
At Amazon, we like to say that, or at AWS, we say that 95% of the feature roadmap is driven by customer and user feedback. And I know lots of folks watching may not be software developers, but I think it's important to reiterate, like, the version of IVS, Interactive Video Service, that launches today is just the first step, right? This is not the what people will build on in its current iteration, but it will constantly evolve in response to that feedback. So if something is desired that is not there right now, are you open to that feedback to drive that roadmap as well, to sort of make IVS better for more folks?
I think that's why we launched it when we did. We have a bunch of ideas for what we think are probably the best new features to add. But there's nothing like actually having people using the product that to get real insight into what are we going to do, because those people are the ones who are actually in the field, actually using it, and they know way better than we can guess how we can improve IVS. So I'm really excited to start getting that feedback as people begin to use the service.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to revisit briefly is, Marty was mentioning all of the hard work that happens and how all of the edge cases you need to solve to get this experience that people see on twitch.tv today. A lot of that work is very, very detailed, and it's subsurface. And I have a friend who was an early Twitch employee, and he was maybe sharing a little bit more about than he should have shared about just all of the infrastructure challenges that you were dealing with in the early days of Twitch, and just how nuanced it became, how detailed it went. Maybe you can give us just one example of, Marty had talked about you can assemble this thing yourself, but really you're in for a long road if you're going to build one of these. And so really the cost that we were talking about earlier, the fact that it is embedding all of this experience that you've had over the years of building Twitch, can you give us a sense of one of those deep problems that you've solved at the infrastructure level?
So the thing to understand about the internet, I suppose, is that the image of it you were given if you took a course in college about networking is a lie. There's a sort of idea with the internet is you connect to the internet and then you send the information out, you send packets and you address them to the person and they get delivered and it all works. And that works to a point for very small amounts of data. If you don't need to have very tight latency requirements, if you don't need very tight deliverability requirements. But the truth is, the internet is a wild west. It's very chaotic, and you can't just buy internet service that delivers your packets reliably, quickly, all over the world. If you want that to happen, if you want to get the video from one side to the other reliably, at some level, you have to shepherd that packet all the way along every pipe it goes down and make sure that there's nothing in the way. And so I think one of the key challenges we solved along the way, this is one of the very first things we worked on, is how the Twitch network talks with other networks and how we choose to do the routing between the Twitch network, where we have our video coming in to us, and then choosing where do we hand it off to give it to Comcast or to give it to AT&T or to give it to an intermediary that's going to hand it off, and how do you know where to put it? And the standard way to solve this problem historically on the internet had you set up kind of fixed pathways and to choose fixed connections and create systems of heuristics and rules that said, give this packet to this person if it's from this source. And what we did instead is we built a much more flexible system, a software system that could in real time react to network conditions and choose in response to us noticing, oh, there's a degraded connection over here, to route the packets in other ways and to change how our network connects to the rest of the internet. And that was a big challenge, but fundamentally improved our quality of service. And then it's 1,000 more things like that, little things along the way that enable it to happen. And I'm really, really grateful to. This isn't my area of expertise, actually. I never been a network engineer. There's a whole set of expertise and depth there. I was really fortunate to have John Shipman on the team build out the original version of the video system, and then Marty and this huge number of other people come in and help build that out, because this was all a learning process for me through Twitch. I had no idea of how complicated the internet actually is before working on it, before getting educated by the team.
Yeah, where folks, the chat got really active all of a sudden. I think Rob dropped from the call. Rob, are you still here? Oh, there we go. All right, Emmett, we're going to have you disable and re-enable video really quickly so that Rob is not moonlighting under your job title over there.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah, you're good. Yeah, Rob's internet dropped for just a moment locally. People are saying you started looking different after you moved over. But yeah, no, the internet is an unforgiving beast at times. A little bit unrelated, but to the same point of these like large challenges that push the boundaries of anyone that's come before you. I was reading this book about I think it was World of Warcraft, the Developer Diaries. It's a game I grew up on, and that game has changed a lot. But I remember back then you installed the game with 7 CDs, and they all went into your computer, and you had to swap them out over hours and hours and hours. And in reading this Developer Diary book, in the beginning, they open and say that at a certain point in time, I think before YouTube, that game's traffic and players comprised some obscene percent of traffic on the internet, like 40% or something at peak hours. And so that made like the internet almost at a certain point was that was the biggest thing from a networking infrastructure perspective on the internet. And then YouTube comes out and on-demand video, and I think that something we're all finding today, something like live, like video streaming, whether that's on demand with something like Netflix or live video like Twitch, has become that new big infrastructure challenge, and in many ways you were the pioneers. And Twitch had to pioneer that. There's no book you could open and be like, yes, let's do it how they did it. Were there any, I don't know, the extent of weird stories you can share, but were there any really funny gotcha moments where you expected something to work in a certain way and it just happened, you just happened to be like, oh wow, I had no idea that was a bandwidth or a constraint or something?
I got it. We hit every constraint it was possible to hit, right? I think the biggest surprise to me was learning that ISPs had just limited total edge bandwidth, and it was possible to simply overwhelm an ISP's ability to ingest the video. Like you could just get to the point where that entire ISP's inbound pipe is filled, and there's nope, sorry, you're not going any farther there without figuring out some way to literally grow the size of the network. And sort of because the internet, I think when you're pushing less bandwidth, the internet feels it's so infinite in capacity. It's like I think the same way you go out in the ocean, it feels like the ocean is infinite. It's not really infinite. It's just very, very large. And it feels like if you poured a cup of water in the ocean, you could pour infinite cups of water in the ocean, and it would never change you couldn't possibly change the ocean. But it turns out if you poured enough water in the ocean, of course, you could raise it. And in the same way, if you put enough bandwidth out there, you find out the internet's very much finite. It's very much, it's got edges, it's got capacity limits, and you start hitting every single one of them. And I think that was very surprising when you started actually to hit those limits. And it's been cool to see the team work around them.
Now, when you say that you hit those limits, did you hit those limits as Twitch, or did you start experiencing some of those when it was still just in TV? As in, did you kind of ease into this, or were these things just kind of hit you like a wall?
You hit more and more the bigger you get. So we hit some of them as just in TV. We hit more of them as Twitch. We hit more of them this year. Like just this year, you start to run into new problems as we get to greater and greater scale. Especially when we were smaller, often we'd be in the situation where other people would have CDNs larger than ours. And so if we ran into trouble, we could kind of hit the escape hatch and try to go to a third party and maybe buy distribution from them. As we've gotten bigger and bigger, that's just not an option. We can't go buy from a third party because the third parties don't have any more bandwidth than we do. And so if we really start hitting capacity limits, we've got to figure out how to actually solve the underlying problem. And that's a little scary because it means it's up to you to fix it. But it's also been very empowering to realize that we can do this. We can build a network that is large enough that it really can accommodate for all these customers and all these peak usage. I have to run in a second, unfortunately, but I think you probably have time for one more question.
All right, yeah. Looking through chat right now. Nothing's jumping out, but largely, I guess, given that this is the last question, let's do something a little forward-looking, right? If you could imagine, and this is like Amazon PR FAQ style writing, I suppose, but if you could imagine IVS 10 years from now, right? Like, if you could have a mission statement for anybody that this service can do something for, what would that be? What do you aspire for it to be?
So, IVS is meant to let everyone else do what we got to do with Twitch by the good fortune of being able to raise enough money, have the right technical bandwidth, be in the right place at the right time to build out our own video network, to remove that barrier and let people all over the internet innovate with video, whatever they can imagine. And so I think, if I had a 10-year statement, it would be to radically simplify anything involving video and interaction into something where the part that the customer has to solve, that the IVS customer, the developer has to solve, is the new part. And people are no longer resolving how do you stream video, how do you archive video, how do you pipe interactions around, how do you clip a piece of a video, how do you take a uploaded video and add it to a live streamed video. Like, those are solved problems that have been solved dozens of times by companies around the world. but they haven't been solved generally. And we want to build something that lets a developer build whatever they can invent. And right now, I think if what you want, you can have it in any color as long as it's black. If what you want is a live video streaming solution for putting in live video in and taking it out, we've got you. Like to a lot of people with the latency requirements we have made that radically simpler, and it's something that anyone around the world can use. But there's so many more video use cases that doesn't necessarily address. And I think there's an opportunity for us to make all of those just as radically simple.
You've got a lot of viewers in chat right now. Is there anything you want to tell them before you have to head out?
Thanks for dropping by, and I think we've got some awesome programming for you. You're going to get to see IVS in action and get to dive into some of the technical details. So I hope everyone here is as nerdy as I am, and you're going to get to dive in and really enjoy it.
Awesome. Emmett, thank you again. It's been a real pleasure having you on. Again, Emmett Shear, CEO of Twitch, jumping on show here for AWS What's Next, talking about Amazon IVS. So we're going to go back to a quick holding screen, and we'll be back with Marty Hess to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of what it means to make IVS as powerful as it is. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Connection issues solved. Marty was on previously. I've seen a lot of folks in chat, but also a lot of new names. So we just heard from Emmett about a little bit of the story of the Twitch and Amazon relationship and where IVS can go going forward. And to recap a little bit, Marty, you kicked things off telling us sort of the fundamentals of IVS. But after hearing Emmett talk, I've got a lot of questions that I'm going to now throw to you. So Emmett's written checks that you're going to have to cash, but I hope you're okay with that.
I'm used to that.
Awesome. So yeah, as GM of IVS, you are intimately familiar with the nuts and bolts of sort of how this service works. So very happy to get to follow up on some of these questions here. I actually wanted to give a quick shout out to a lot of the folks in chat. Emmett was talking a lot about how there are so many technical challenges that Twitch has had to address in building not only the platform, but now IVS as a service. And that work wouldn't be possible without a lot of those little wrenches that I see in chat, right? A lot of the engineering folks over at Twitch.
Yes, we have an amazing team. They're very committed. In general, we're a bunch of Twitch fans, so we consume our product every single day. We're passionate about quality. We're passionate about latency. We're passionate about having great user experience. In general, we kind of attract people who want to see the platform improve, often for their own benefit, because they're Twitch fans.
Yeah, on the topic of quality of the platform and quality of life features, like we were talking about with Emmett, we went through some of the. Actually, we may have spoken about this with you as well, but like the ephemeral experiences that we knew we loved live video. And I had been a follower for a very long time on Twitch. I'd streamed every once in a while, but sort of the live interaction was something that really got me. And the culture that can develop from simply just having real-time chat, low latency chat. Folks have been asking, in chat stuff about integrations or use with sports and stuff. And I think one of the funniest scenarios that I really was taken aback by was when I was watching, I think it was the NFL Thursday Night Football on Twitch, something I typically would never watch on TV, but there was just something about seeing, like vac spam in chat, or like PogChamp whenever someone made an amazing catch, that really emanated. And like as soon as the catch happens, you look in chat and it's right there. It's lined up right away. There's no like 3-second delay. So when Emmett was saying 10 years forward, there's the ability to just make all of that simpler. We don't think about maybe Thursday Night Football as and Twitch chat being going arm in arm, but going forward, maybe that'll be the case, right?
Possibly. It's hard to know. Traditionally, it's been divided up between lean back and lean forward experiences. So lean back is, you're in the couch, you're lean back, you're consuming, you're just watching it. And you can imagine a lot of things where you want it to be lean back. You don't want the distraction of a community. Maybe, a premiere of a new movie, Game of Thrones, something like that. But then there's other things where they're just innately a community experience. Certainly sports. People, if they don't have people at their home to watch sports with, they'll go to a bar to watch sports with people. So you could imagine a lot of different things where community matters a lot, and I could see people using IVS for those community kinds of domains. But then there's other areas where you could say like news, education. These are all areas where you could see where community would really be beneficial. And I think we haven't figured out where that line is. We don't know yet. And I think the main reason we don't know yet is it's just been so ridiculously hard to get to the point where you could just have the video. Now you can have it in an hour, and you can really focus on your ideas. You can focus on your content, you can focus on your engagement, your interactivity. You can focus on the things that make your ideas special and unique for the audience that you're looking to build.
Yeah, and one of the things that occurs to me is that the video is one component of it. There's so much other stuff, like you mentioned, there's the community aspect, but then there's all these amazing integrations, and I see so much innovation around this space. Just to give you an example, there's a game called Vermintide, where it's this 4-player co-op survival shooter, but there's a Twitch integration that allows Twitch chat to make the game harder or easier for the streamers. The Twitch chat, if they don't like the streamer, they can summon waves of monsters to make the gameplay even more stressful.
Yeah, Hunger Games style. Yeah.
And so it's these kinds of really creative loops that happen that I can't wait to. I think we're just scratching the surface.
I agree. I don't even think, the only thing that we know for sure is kind of a universal is chat. But beyond that, it's just the wild, wild west. And Twitch is certainly doing a lot of experimentation, trying things out. And I can't wait to see when many people are all able to go their own directions and try things out, and we'll discover, other ways that communities can be built around live video experiences. That I make no pretense that I know how it's going to turn out. I'm sitting here handing people a tool, and I'm with bated breath waiting to see what people do.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of these integrations, would this be a good time to start transitioning and talking about the developer experience, the SDK for IVS?
Yes, absolutely. It's always, from the get-go, we wanted to hide the complexity. It's very easy to expose complexity. It's much harder to hide it. And so it really is, we've seen people integrate in under an hour. In fact, I saw a YouTube video yesterday where somebody not only built a video app using IVS from scratch, but they also added, using various AWS services, chat and user login and authentication. And it was like, holy cow, he did all, it wasn't even an hour, it was like 45 minutes. So that shows that AWS is doing the right things. We're providing people the right building blocks, and people are getting it on how to use those building blocks to create visions rapidly. So anyway, we should probably go to Max, because Max has a great demo.
Awesome. So Max, we're actually gonna show a demo of IVS here. We have another guest on the line who we'll introduce in just a moment. But we will be right back, and then we will have that demo for you in just a moment. So hang tight. We'll see you in a second. All right, so we have yet another face joining us here on the show. We're playing musical chairs here with all the guests here in the third slot. But the most exciting part about this section is, Max, you are going to show us what it means to build with IVS in action. And if you're a developer, this is what it's going to look like to actually get hands-on with it. But before we get into that demo, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do over at Twitch?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks so much for having me. I'm a product manager here on the Amazon IVS team. Basically, I've been working for the past 2 years on building out this service and talking to customers and making sure that we're building the right thing.
Wonderful.
Welcome to the show, Max.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
So we've got lots of very excited wrenches in the audience, lots of other developers in chat watching along from home. They're curious what it looks like to build with IVS. We've heard Marty and Emmett, now they've all said, in under an hour, you can build essentially your own platform without worrying about the heavy lifting of video. Is that what you're going to show us today, or at least sort of how to get partially there?
Absolutely. We're going to get there, and it's not even going to take us an hour. So in this demo, I'm going to show you how to build a quiz app. And it should only take us a couple minutes, actually.
All right. Well, that's a big promise. I won't hold you to it, but I'm holding my breath because I want to see it myself.
Cool. Let's get into it then. So the first step is just navigating to the Amazon IVS console page and actually creating your channel. So I will create a channel and I'll call it just demo, and I will leave the configuration as is. And now we have a channel. And so now that our channel has been created, we can stream to this channel. And you can use just about any encoder that supports RTMPS. But for this demo, I'm going to use OBS, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with from your time streaming on Twitch. So to configure OBS, what you need to do is take the ingest server and the stream key and paste it into the settings panel. So I already have the ingest server in OBS, but I will plug in my stream key. And here I just have some sample content on loop, and I'll press the start streaming button. You'll know you're live when this little green indicator appears. And if we head back over to the console page, we should see a live preview. There we are. So that's our stream. And just to give you a sense of the latency here, if I can arrange my windows, I'm going to move this little icon around. And just about, 2 or 3 seconds later, we see that moving over here. And so that's the ultra low latency that Marty and Emmett were talking about. And it's really, that's really key to enabling this two-way interactive type of experiences that we're looking for. So at this stage, we actually have a stream, a live stream up and running. You could take the player SDK, you could plug it into your website, you could plug it into your mobile app, and you'd be done. And I think we're probably about a minute or two in here. But I want to show you one of the cooler features of the service called timed metadata. And timed metadata allows you to synchronize interactive elements with the video stream. So in the case of a quiz app, for example, you want the questions to appear in sync as the host is reading them. So we've prepared a very basic quiz demo here. It's just a basic web app. It uses the IVS player SDK, and it has a quiz UI built on top of it. So the first thing I'll do is I will go back to the console page. I'll get our playback URL, and I'll plug it into our player. Awesome. So now that we have our stream running, the next step is actually sending the questions.
Wait,
And
Hold on, sorry.
go ahead.
I know I'm interrupting, and this
Please.
train is moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like, there's so much
Absolutely.
I want to say, but that first part, the 1 to 2 minutes where we saw the preview in the console, you literally created this stream channel, which you could then do over an SDK call, so automate that, and instantly return a set of stream credentials to anybody, and then just pop those in and start streaming.
That's exactly right. So you can create thousands. You can create as many channels as you need. They're instantly available. People can stream to them, and those streams are available instantly. And that video you could then distribute all around the world.
That's awesome. So like every time someone signs up on your platform, you can just run that call, and then they have their own personalized stream channel.
Exactly.
Wow. And you're going into it right here with the events, but I wanted to touch on something that you glanced over very quickly, but is actually really impressive. This player is essentially like, that's another thing that people would have to work on or use their own libraries to build their own player that can then integrate and ingest the stream that you're passing to the front end. But more than handling that video piping, IVS actually gives you an SDK for the player all in one. So it is like a complete white glove experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So with IVS, basically, all you have to do is send us the video, and we take care of the rest. And that includes playback as well. So we have player SDKs for iOS, Android, and the web. They're super simple SDKs. You can see here some of the JavaScript for the player SDK. You just drop in a script tag, or we have an NPM module if you would prefer. It's the player is tailor built to play back the IVS streams, and so you don't need to deal with finding players or configuring players for all the various platforms. We provide that piece as well.
One thing I was going to call out that a lot of folks just sort of are used to as like table stakes on Twitch is the player's ability to switch the quality of the stream as a viewer, right? Maybe your bandwidth isn't so hot, or network outage, network's not doing well. You can switch between those qualities. Usually the developer would have to manage all of that, but the SDK for IVS, I'm pretty sure that has that bundled in, right? So that capability, they can switch between the different video qualities.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if you set up your channel as a standard broadcast, which we talked about a little earlier, we'll generate a set of qualities, and then the player will switch to the optimal quality for each viewer based on their network connection. So you might have viewers that are on a really strong and stable network that can watch full HD, and you might have a set of viewers that are watching perhaps from a mobile network or just a constrained network or unstable network that can only watch 480p. And the player has all that decisioning logic built into it, so it'll pick the right quality for each viewer.
Okay, wonderful. Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt, but back to timed metadata or timed events. I didn't mean to derail us, but there was just so much in there that I thought deserved to be mentioned.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. So again, where we are right now is we have our stream up and running. It's live. We have a very basic web app here, which is built on the JavaScript player SDK and has a simple quiz UI on top of it. And we plugged in our playback URL from the console into this player. The next step in building a quiz app is we need a way to send the questions in sync with the video. So as I said before, what's really important often in interactive experiences is having a interactive element that is in sync with the video, regardless of each viewer's latency. So in the case of a quiz show, you have a host reading a question, and you want the question prompt to appear as the host is reading it. And that's what the timed metadata feature enables. So I'll go ahead and send a question here. And the way that we'll do this is we have a very basic API, the put metadata API, that takes a payload of just arbitrary data. In this case, I have a payload, which is a question and a set of answers. And we'll use the AWS CLI to call this API. So what will happen when, one last step. So each channel has a channel ARN, and this channel ARN is essentially the unique identifier for this channel. So because this channel is new, I didn't have the channel ARN here. I'll go ahead and plug this in. And what will happen when I call this endpoint is the question will get carried alongside the video to each viewer. And then if we go back to the player code here, the player will parse each question as it receives it, and it will trigger the quiz UI. So I'll go ahead and switch this to a full page view. Actually, I'll save this. We'll switch this to a full page view so you can see the questions as they come in. And we will take the put metadata command and go ahead and send this. So what we should see is a few seconds later, based on my latency, we'll see the question. So just some Twitch trivia for you all, and actually I might have answered this before. When did Twitch launch? Rob or Nick, do you remember earlier from the conversation?
Yeah, 2011 is my final answer.
Yeah.
Correct.
Awesome.
What do I win?
You win congratulations.
You win a sticker. Hold on, I've got it for you. Give me 1 second.
Oh yes.
How does this one look? Fans of that.
Wait, I have that one already.
You have
Max,
this one?
can you can you take us back to the code for just 1 second?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I understand correctly, this is coming in from that metadata call that there was somewhere, yeah, right there, the player event type text metadata queue. Is that where this is happening? You have a callback function there?
Yes, exactly. So as I said before, when you send metadata, it gets carried alongside the video as part of the video stream itself. And then every time the player sees metadata in the stream, it fires this text metadata queue event. And then it's up to you to take that metadata and to trigger whatever interactive experience that you're building. So in this case, we're taking that metadata and we are triggering the quiz UI.
Okay, so just wanted to summarize this for both my benefit and for the benefit of the audience. We don't have to build a quiz here. We can actually send arbitrary payloads of data that will trigger the metadata callback, and then we can handle that in whatever way we want. So for instance, one of the things we can have in the payload is like interaction type, and we can build multiple kinds of interactions, whether it be a quiz or a survey or really anything, right?
Yeah, totally. The possibilities are endless. We see a lot of customers that are building live commerce use cases where they're sending SKU information as part of the video stream, so that when a host is talking about a particular item, that item appears as kind of a byte, now call to action. There are a lot of different possibilities. It's as I said, it's an arbitrary field of data, and you can sort of do with it what you want. But what's important is that we do the hard work of actually syncing that metadata with the video.
So aside from the metadata API that we have here, can you point out some of the other major API endpoints that we have with the SDK?
Yeah, I mean, the SDK is pretty straightforward. It's quite simple. The way it works is, at least on web, you just drop in this JavaScript, you tell it what the playback URL is, and you call play. And that's really all we had to do for this demo. If you go to the Amazon IVS documentation, you can see a full set of reference docs for the player. But really, to get up and running, you don't actually need to do all that much with the player, and that's very much intentional.
Mm-hmm. Is there any ability to customize the look and feel of the scrubber or the frame around this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is all fully customizable. And actually on the web, we provide a plugin for Video.js, which is one of the more common player frameworks that has a lot of customization ability built in, and also a whole community of freely available skins.
Awesome. And then, okay, final question. I promise. I feel like I'm taking up a lot of time, but one of the really cool things that I see the Twitch community doing all the time is taking clips of moments that they want to save and share. If we wanted to build an experience like that, is that supported right now, or how would that work?
It's absolutely possible if you use some other tools within AWS. It's not something that we natively support today, but it's feedback that we've heard from many customers, and it's something that we're considering supporting built into the service.
Awesome.
Wonderful. I mean, we heard before that 1 hour is the amount of time it can take to get up and started, but you showed us quite literally in just a few minutes I think that for those that are used to working with boilerplate code, I see here you have this code pen. Are there resources like essentially what I saw you do was paste your unique resource in here and it just worked with this boilerplate code. Is an example or a code sample like this something that folks could be on the lookout for to implement on their own?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, for those here, if you missed something, you can head over to the AWS blog. There's a post from July 15th that walks through this demo in much greater detail. So you'll find all of the code that I've shown in this demo is referenced here in this blog. Additionally, we have code samples on GitHub as part of the AWS samples organization. So we have code samples for across all platforms, and you'll find this demo there as well. Also, the same demo on iOS and Android. Additionally.
Awesome. The gears are turning in my head for experiences I could try to build using this new service, but in the more immediate future, I'm currently streaming on Twitch, so I figured that we can probably move things along in just a moment. Chat, I know there's been lots of chatter, but before we move off of this segment, I want to make sure that all of the comments on IVS or questions are answered. So if you have, we have a question for a link for the blog, so I'll go and hunt that down. But again, if whether you're a developer, whether you're not a developer, is there anything you want to know a little bit about the tech that powers Twitch, anything about interactive video service, please let us know as we sort of close out this first section.
Yeah, seriously, chat, this is some amazing stuff. It's dangerous for me personally because I have a day job, but I already know that my afternoon is going to be spent hacking on this. So if you have any more questions, now is the time. We have all the experts on stream. Let us know what you want to know.
People wondering if C++ is used at Twitch. I'm so thankful we have Twitch staff jumping in, answering our questions, making it easier for our guests too. But the answer to that being yes on the video playback team. We have some links in chat there for the blog post. Someone also wondering if IVS is available in the free tier. So for people that may not be familiar on AWS, if you want to get started with some of our services, there is a threshold of usage that you can use them for free. Typically that's a certain amount of usage per month or something. And IVS, I think Rob said it is free tier eligible.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
that's
I believe when you create an AWS account, you get something like 5 hours of standard video included per month, and then 100 hours. So 5 hours of HD and then 100 hours of standard.
Yeah, you definitely.
Fact check me on that.
It's. I don't know if that's exactly correct. I believe that you get basic channels, but it's more than enough to get up and running and try the service.
Wonderful. Lots of folks asking for a link to the broadcast. We're going to be this video will have a VOD by default, and we'll have links on our own socials and so on. If you're interested in seeing this again, we'll also re-upload it elsewhere. If you're following AWS, follow myself, follow Rob. We'll definitely be tweeting all those things out. But without further ado, Rob, anything else you think we should cover or touch on with IVS before we move on to the second session for today?
Yeah, I think there's a quick question we can knock out. Top Swag Code asks, ASP.NET Core 3.1 support. I assume you are not talking about Blazor. You're talking about serving a website that from ASP.NET Core that supports IVS, and the answer is absolutely. What we're seeing here is CodePen. So imagine that you're building you're serving a single-page app, or even server-side rendered, right? And you can include the script, and it'll work in the front end. The browser will be none the wiser that you're using, .NET, PHP, whatever.
I've got another question in chat from Onyx Raven. They're wondering if IVS will integrate with things like Kinesis video streams or do other sort of like quality of life amendments and processing on that video stream. So an example they have here would be like object detection. Imagine something like Amazon recognition or translation or transcription. Are these quality of life tie-ins that users could see in the roadmap in the future for IVS?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So you could absolutely use IVS with other AWS services. IVS itself, we like to say it's kind of a bigger building block than most AWS services themselves, but it does fit within the broader set of puzzle pieces that AWS provides. So you could certainly wire up IVS with Kinesis Video or Recognition or any other AWS service if your use case requires it.
Wonderful. I feel bad because I'm giving IVS so much coverage here, but given the relationship to Twitch and the audience and how much it affects them, this launch is just so unique in so many ways, right? Most of our launches, sort of by nature here at AWS, will be most exciting to developers that will use them. But I think that with us as developers that create these experiences, we also use them ourselves so much. We're here streaming on Twitch ourselves, right? We consume Twitch. We watch all these different shows on it. So even if you're not, let's say, a developer there watching in the audience right now, these services and understanding sort of the functionalities that they enable will sort of pave the way for the platforms that are going to pop up as a result of this, that new experiences. We mentioned before that we can't even imagine, Marty can't even imagine how all of the ways that this will be used. Like, I'm personally holding out for the hooks and integrations where we have truly community driven games. We had Twitch Plays Pokemon with like hacked emulators and Twitch chat and stuff, but imagine like a choose your own adventure game that's just completely built from the ground up with IVS, where you just go to a web page. Like, that's what the future could hold, and that's really exciting to me, and I know that everyone is probably imagining an equally as exciting scenario that looks slightly different. Cool. So sorry, I just went on a soapbox for a little bit about how excited I am. My mouth is hurting from smiling, and people were teasing me in chat about that before, that I was excited and geeking out when you were working through the console. More than anything, I was just anxious you were going to leak your stream key, which I think is something that...
Oh no, I practiced. I practiced that.
Yeah, we've all made that mistake.
Yep.
I think in the case of Nick and I, probably dozens of times a year. So it's just always feel a little bit better when other people mess up. Just
Yeah,
give us a
that would
little
have
slack here.
been the fatal error for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, just to touch on what Nick said, part of the reason we're so happy about this is because we're Twitch viewers. We use Twitch all day, and just seeing the evolution and seeing what the service can do and seeing how easy it is. I mean, the gears are turning for us. I can tell you for sure how we are going to be using this in our projects. Whether it's hobby projects or work projects. I mean, I really feel like this has opened up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, that's really awesome. As Marty said before, many of us are fans of Twitch and fans of interactive video in general, and so we couldn't be more excited to see what people build with it.
Final comment, which again, looking forward, if folks in the audience are developers, they're interested in using this. Marty said, he can't imagine all of the ways this will be used, but the reason why this was released now was so that we can continue to develop this together with community feature requests. What would be the best way for folks to reach out or express their desire for certain features in IVS?
Yeah, so we are very active on the Amazon IVS AWS forum. So if you go to the AWS forums, there's a specific section for Amazon IVS, and I can tell you that the team actively watches that, and we'd really love to hear from developers that are building products on the service, and we'd love to hear your feedback.
Wonderful. And Rob and I were trying our best to describe what a developer advocate does briefly, but that's a high challenge. But broadly, we also serve as conduits for some of that feedback. So if you find us on social media, you let us know some of those feature requests. We will do our best to get that passed along to the service teams, just like we see right here. So cool. Well, without further ado, yeah, we have our social links in chat, link to the forums in chat. Man, such an attentive audience today. This is wonderful. We love to see it. We are an hour and 15 into the show, and we have 2 other sessions left. But we could spend all day on IVS. Honestly, this is so cool, and I think that it seems like even in the audience, folks that may not be developers are starting to come to the same conclusions we are, and see really what is possible here, and that is due in no small part to this demo that you provided, Emmett getting up here and talking sort of about the vision and the history of it, and Marty walking us through the background and some of the technical nuts and bolts that went into putting this together. So thank you to all of you folks for taking the time and coming out onto the stream today.
Thanks so much for having us. We're really excited to be here.